Good morning, YouTube. It's the morning that we all hate. It's a Sunday morning. It's the last Sunday in October, so the clocks have gone back. And we are now on Greenwich Mean Time, or Universal Time to be more politically correct these days. And that's it, the end of the summer. And we're now facing the winter of cold, wet, short, dark days. So I think the first thing to do, as an Englishman, is to get the kettle on. But now I've brought it with me, and have my first cup of tea. Well, that's a bit of a pathetic whistle. So, let's go back in time to yesterday. But first, some context. I've been away for a few weeks, and during that time, the UK was hit by Storm Babet, which had, I think, two major storm fronts. And because I wasn't here, I didn't really kind of appreciate the impact. But North Lincolnshire and South Yorkshire were really badly hit, and there's lots of flooding in the area. As I was driving over here, there was lots of standing water on the various fields. And so, upon my arrival, I was kind of expected to find bad things. So let's go back and take a look. Well, this isn't so good. I can't get in. The door's swollen up with the water. So that's a first problem. God. Oh dear, this is not good. Ah, there he is. There we are. Whew. So the tarp blew off at the front here during this storm. Bit annoying, because water's then got into at least two of the handy rail holes. Fix that on later. But that's a bit of a thing, isn't it? The river, they've obviously opened the sluice to allow the Ancombe to drain out, and that's dropped the Ancombe river level right down. Wonder what the boats up at Brigg are like.
I decided to take a little stroll along the riverbank to see what was going on.
You'll notice that there's mud here, and the grass right up to the edge of here has mud stains. So I think the river topped its banks before they opened the sluice.
In fact, the marina yard had been flooded in its lowest lying areas. This small boat on the river moorings had sunk, a wide beam narrowboat had been ripped from its moorings and sunk, having to be craned out to avoid blocking the river, and even a week after the storm, the water flow, as you can see here, was still pretty fierce.
Despite the tarp coming off in the corner, the only places it would have leaked in was there, which is it is wet there. There is damp there, and there, but it's not actually dripped onto the sofa. So the sofa's not been wrecked, which is great, and there's no other damage. Everything else is absolutely pucker. So great news.
So you might remember our broken bilge pump. A definite warranty repair, but due to a very unfunny comedy of shipping errors, my concern that some nameless, faceless repairman at the manufacturers might just argue that it must have been damaged and therefore not covered by warranty, I considered this. If I send it back and it doesn't get covered by the warranty, I will be without a pump. If I fix it myself, I will still have a pump. So I decided to take a calculated risk and fix it myself.
Okay, let's put some one spoof of resin and one spoof of hardener, and that will be all I need for this. It's a very small amount, but it does need a good mix. Let's put oodles of epoxy on the outside. Well, there can be enough. Can there be enough? Yes. And there she is.
I think there she is. So there you go. That's the whale ready to go back in. The epoxy looks pretty good. Okay. So final thing to do then is to leave it in auto and then to turn the main power off. Right, let's put this in here and then wait for a few seconds. There she is. So we are going to wire up the stereo, this wonderful piece of equipment, and this takes not a 12-volt terminal, but it uses one of these plugs. Got to solder this plug on here. I haven't got the best soldering iron tip in the world. This is pretty grim, actually. In fact, I'm not even sure if I'll be able to do it, but I will give it a shot. I would normally use a far better tip than that. And it's a soldering iron that's not normally. We don't normally do much soldering on the boat, so it's just one that hangs around. So bad, in fact, that tip, that I've decided that I'm going to get this this file out and just clean it up a little bit. It's on at the moment and it's heating up. It's because obviously some of this might just be old solder rather than actually the tip that's bent. Oh, that's the sound of rain. It's not the sound of applause, let me tell you that. Rain and sunshine often means a rainbow. There she is. Up above the streets and houses, rainbows climbing high. First job is always to tin the wire. And tinning the wire basically means putting some solder onto the bare wire ends. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the two bits of wire, and then I'm going to hold the bit of wire onto the hottest part of the blade of the, and just melt some solder on it, running the solder along there. Okay, now you'll notice as well that I've tinned them at slightly different lengths, so that so they're not quite the same length, because obviously the negative's got to be cut a little bit shorter. Massive soldering iron and a tiny little thing, it's going to be quite awkward. What you've got to do is you've got to apply heat to the thing that you're soldering and not just melt the solder, and don't blow on it, otherwise it'll cool too quickly and then you'll get a dry joint. So again, what we've got to do is put the flat part of the blade, the tip, sorry, onto the thing, heat it up, and then add solder, and then cut it off to be smooth at the end. And there we have the beast finished and ready, and then we've just got to plug it in there. Try and do that through the camera lens, which is why it looks a bit weird. That's a bit hand-eye coordination. Very good. So I've got some speakers off Amazon. These are some unbranded name of Contemporary Audio Solutions 4-inch full-range 80-watt dual-coil mini-box speakers. Chances of them being 80 watt is pretty remote, but then 80 watts RMS, it'll probably be peak made-up power output. The full range bit is the nice bit, and they are small. Quite a good size. They weren't very expensive, and I don't need them to be. This is not a recording studio. The one measurement that's worth making a note of is they are 8 ohms at 80 watts. So if your amplifier has an impedance, this one has 4 to 16 as the speaker impedance options, which means 8 is in the middle, so that's fine. If it's less than 4, it won't like it. And by the way, if you were to connect 2 of these speakers in parallel, you would get 4 ohms. Not sure how fair it is to expect my sailing viewers to give a monkeys about how to connect loudspeakers up, but we're going to use that black identifier there, and we're going to follow that convention through on both sides, not because it's electrically dangerous, but because if you put them, if you cross the wires, you'll get them out of phase, which means the bass will disappear. I want it to be in the corner of the seating area so that it's easy to get to turn it up and down. It doesn't have a remote control on it, so it seems futile to have to actually get off my bottom and press a button. Heaven forfend. Right, feed a pair of wires into this pupster, put a fuse in it, and we'll get some music. Of course, one thing I like to be able to do is find the right label, stereo, and there we go. Now these wires are ridiculously thin, and they simply will not crimp well on even the smallest automotive crimp size. So we're going to have to do something about that. Now the easiest thing to do is to introduce a ferrule into the situation. So I shall introduce one of these ferrules, probably one of those white ones, and then crimp the white one onto the red thing there. Let's put the ferrule onto the red wire, crimp that in place. That seems to be quite reasonable. And then get the automotive crimper right. And they're on quite well. Nice. My God, this isn't easy with a camera in the way. There we go. There we're lovely. Select a fuse, 3 amps. Nothing exploded, which is always a good sign. And then throw the old top on again. So let's turn it on. Oh, here it goes. Look at that. All the colours.
Good morning, and now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. There are warnings of gales in Viking, North at Sierra, Rockall, Hebrides, Bailey, Fair Isle, Faroes and South East Iceland.